Here at 10 o'clock. All those who are able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we have a lot of things on the agenda today, but is there anyone here from the public for comments on items that are not on today's agenda? Yes, sure, Cindy. If you come up to the podium so that the people at home can hear you.
My name's Cindy Coons. I'm here today on behalf of the Nittany Valley Joint Recreation Authority. I represent Walker Township on that authority. I'm here to announce a community meeting on Kepler Pool. It's an update and a status report similar to what we provided to the commissioners late last fall. The meeting will be held on Tuesday, March 26th, 2 o'clock p.m., 301 North Spring Street, Bellefonte. We're hoping to have a good turnout, and commissioners, we hope you can join us too.
All right, can you give us the time and the address again?
Yes, March 26th, 2 o'clock p.m., 301 North Spring Street, Bellefonte. So that's in the community conference room that the borough owns. The corner on Spring and I think it's Lamb Street.
All right.
The old armory.
The old armory.
The old armory.
Yeah. All right.
The old Bellefonte Administrative Building.
All right, and it's gorgeous inside,
Yes,
so
it is.
people can
Yes.
take that in as they're to the meeting. Well, thank you very much for announcing that, Cindy. So the Nittany Valley Joint Recreation Authority will be holding a public information meeting regarding the Kepler Pool on Tuesday, March 26th at 2 p.m. at 301 North Spring Street, which is the armory that is over by the elementary school. I should say the downtown elementary school. Thank you very much. Is there anything else for public comment? No? All right, great. Thanks, Cindy. Do we have any additions to the agenda from any of the commissioners? No? All right. Meeting minutes, they good? We'll take a motion then.
I'll move to approve the minutes from the meeting held February 27th, 2024.
We'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the meeting held on February 27th. All those in favor do so by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right, we will move on to an announcement. The Bellefonte Hometown Heroes program continues a great run, and we have Brian Query and Deb Berger to tell us about it.
Well, I'm just here to introduce Deb because she's actually running the program this year. Just the official announcement for it. I think we've already had, the registration forms have been put out and hopefully people have been seeing them. With that said, Deb, take it over.
First of all, thank you for allowing us to come here, and on behalf of the committee, we are proud to announce the 5th round of the Bellefonte Hometown Hero banners. We are so happy to say that over the past 4 rounds, we have honored 338 heroes. And for anyone wishing to honor a hero, the applications are available at Historic Bellefonte Incorporated, the Bellefonte Borough, and also the Center County Veterans Affairs websites, as well as at the Bellefonte train station. And we now have our own Facebook page. It's the Bellefonte Hometown Heroes Incorporated Facebook page. So the applications are to be turned back into the train station by July 31st. And inflation has not hit us. They are still $200 for the banners. So please, the committee would be very honored to have your hero displayed throughout our town. So please go out and get an application. And if you have any questions, you can email me at the number 4vets, V-E-T-S, at comcast.net.
All right, can you give us that email again, Deb?
Yes, it's the number 4, vets, as in veterans, V-E-T-S, at comcast.net.
Great. Any questions from the press on that program? No? All right. Well, again, thank you very much, Brian and Deb, for coming. Been a
Yes.
great program. Any comments or questions from the other commissioners?
No?
Thank
We
you.
will be unveiling them on Veterans Day, November 11th.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Yes, thanks for all you do.
All right. We'll move on to our proclamations. We have proclamation number 9 of 2024, proclaiming March as Bleeding Disorders Awareness Month in Center County. And we have Marissa Ferger here with a few words and background about the various diseases involved.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me this morning. My name is Marissa Ferger, and on behalf of both the Eastern Pennsylvania chapter and Western Pennsylvania chapter of the Bleeding Disorders Foundation, I want to thank you so much for doing this. I'm on the board of the Eastern chapter, and I'm also a community member. I have hemophilia A, as does my 19-year-old son. And bleeding disorders are inheritable. They don't discriminate. It's both men and women, all races, all religions, and they're expensive diseases to deal with, and it's traumatic for families. And so to have these foundations and to know that there are people out there that support us, it's a wonderful thing. So I just want to thank you all very much. Both the Eastern Pennsylvania chapter and Western Pennsylvania chapters of the Bleeding Disorders Foundations really do support their community members, and it's nice to know that our local communities do so as well. So thank you very much.
Wonderful. Stay up there for a minute, Marissa. Thanks for coming. Now, Center County is both Eastern and Western
Yes.
Pennsylvania at the same time. Which particular geography do you have us in?
So it's interesting you ask that, because technically I'm in the Eastern Pennsylvania chapter, and
Yeah.
that's because patients in Center County get treated at Hershey. We get treated at certain treatment
Okay.
centers, and Hershey is one of the federally funded
All right.
treatment centers. But yet our friends in Blair County and Clearfield County, they get treated in Pittsburgh. So
Okay.
they're part of the Western Pennsylvania chapter. But when I've gone down to Washington Days in DC,
Yeah.
where we go and we try to, talk to our legislators about the diseases, I've been paired at times with Western Pennsylvania, just depending on, what geographic area you're in and what representative you have that year.
All right.
Yeah, so it is interesting. So I straddle both, but I'm
Yeah.
on the board and I'm a member technically of the Eastern Pennsylvania chapter, but we work very closely with Western Pennsylvania.
Great. Commissioner Concepcion, any comments or questions?
So, can you tell us a little bit about what can people in the general public do to support those with bleeding disorders? Is giving blood something that is helpful, or?
That does help, because we don't necessarily need blood as often as
Okay.
it used to be, because now there's medications that treat us. The big thing is paying attention to legislation. There are obstacles in place for people who have to pay for medications that are non-generic and that cost a lot of money. And so just, doesn't matter what your politics are, the Affordable Care Act really helped people who have bleeding disorders in many different ways. So just paying attention to legislation, supporting your neighbors, listening to people when they do have medical issues and medical problems. I think that's the biggest thing that there is out there.
Good to know. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Commissioner Dershowitz.
I was just curious, how prevalent how prevalent is hemophilia and maybe some of the other disorders that
So
exist?
we're considered rare diseases, but what's interesting is even 20 years ago, women were told we couldn't have some of these. For years, I was dismissed, and I was just told, "Oh, your bleeding is normal. Your bleeding is normal." Even when I was hospitalized after having a child, and all sorts of messy stuff happened. And then a doctor was willing to test me, and they came out and said, "Wow, you have hemophilia." And so we're trying to get the word out, and actually both chapters right now are working hard going to universities and schools to try to find more women, or try to get more women diagnosed, because there are so many women going undiagnosed with these, because so many medical professionals were trained that only men could have these diseases. So it's an interesting question that you ask, because I don't have the numbers, because the numbers are changing so much right now, so rapidly, because women are now actually being treated and being tested for these things.
So beyond the obvious, bleeding, are there any other symptoms that would indicate if somebody were concerned that they may or may not have?
So bruising, so if you have a child who bruises really easily, if they get a lot of bloody noses. When I had my wisdom teeth out, I kept bleeding and bleeding and bleeding, and I had to keep going to get them restitched, and yet that was never questioned. It was just like, oh, you just need your stitches done again. And of course, like you said, with women, heavy periods are a huge concern. And then if you have problems after childbirth or with miscarriages like I had, those are big red flags. And then another thing is, a sprained ankle for a normal person is a sprained ankle, but for someone like me, you get a joint bleed, and if it goes untreated, you can cause permanent joint damage. Hence the fact I wear fancy sneakers now all the time.
So essentially, early diagnosis does have an advantage.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because then there's a way to treat it prophylactically, where some patients do have to take infusions on a regular basis just to prevent bleeds. Someone like me, I have mild hemophilia. I get treated as needed, but it's nice to know that if something happens, I can get treated. Now I have drugs that I keep in my refrigerator. I have IV needles. I can go and infuse right away if I sprain an ankle. So it is helpful. And then the educational part of it is, it's what patients need, because if you don't know something's wrong, then you can do permanent damage.
And I'm guessing that probably the majority of the public is not fully aware of some of the challenges and some of the
Yes.
realities of living with
That is
these
correct.
disorders.
That's correct, yes.
Well, thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much for giving me this time. I really appreciate it.
So if you'll step for just another minute or two.
Mm-hmm.
We'll adopt the proclamation, and then we'll take a picture, and we'll
Fantastic.
get that posted on the county website later
Thank you
today.
so much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. So if we could have a motion then.
I will move to adopt Proclamation 9 of 2024, proclaiming March 2024 as Bleeding Disorders Awareness Month in Center County.
And I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to adopt Proclamation 9, proclaiming March as Bleeding Disorders Awareness Month in Center County. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. And Marissa, if you'd come on up and we'll present the proclamation.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Giving us some insights.
Thank you so
Quite frankly, I didn't have.
Yes.
All right, you've already centered yourself on
Yes.
Bellefonte. Right there is the exact center of the state.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Oh, that's right. That's
for you.
to keep.
Yeah.
And just to, I know I'm talking out of place here, but your next group, the Red Cross, I'd like to thank, because actually back in 2005, after I gave birth, thanks to them, I did receive some blood product. So,
Wow.
yes, thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Thanks.
That's a pretty powerful intro to our next one.
Yes.
Exactly.
So we'll now move on to our next proclamation, proclaiming March of 2024 as American Red Cross Month in Center County. And we have Gary and, is it Megan? Megan, here to talk about the Red Cross and all the many, many things they do to help keep us healthy and educated.
Yeah. Good morning. Thank you for having us. I'm Megan Schweitzer.
I'm Gary Langsdale, both of us members of the community.
Yep. So we serve on the board for the Central Pennsylvania chapter of the Red Cross. Just this year, actually, the Red Cross went through a little bit of restructuring. So Center County is now part of the Central PA chapter versus its own kind of cluster there. So both Center County, Mifflin, and Juniata all joined our chapter at the beginning of the year. Just some highlights of some of the impact that we've had over the last year or so. Since July of 2023, the Red Cross has responded to 11 different disaster events that have impacted 38 individuals
In Center County.
in Center County. Yep. We have about 134 volunteers at this point that are part of our mission here in the county. We also responded to 14 disaster health and mental health or provided services. We've collected over 4,000 units of blood across 133 blood drives. We have served 98 people through our Home Fire campaign, and we provide services for 40 different cases of the Armed Forces branch of Red Cross.
Wow, that is a lot.
Yeah, you don't really, at least for me, I had no idea how much the Red Cross actually did in our communities until I
Yeah.
became a board member. I mean, I knew the blood drives. I might have heard a little bit about some of our fire prevention programs and things like that, but really getting into a lot of different community events. We're into the elementary schools with preparedness programs, anywhere from kindergarten with our Pedro the Penguin program up through all of elementary school with the Pillowcase Project and things like that. We do have a really strong Service to the Armed Forces branch of the Red Cross, provides a lot of really great free, help me out here, like resilience campaigns and workshops and things like that to help not only the service members but also their families. And it adopts a pretty loose definition of what a Service to the Armed Forces family member actually is. So really striving to reach as much of the community as we can. But there are so many different branches and so many different ways that we can impact individuals that you don't necessarily realize, unless, of course, you are unfortunate and experience one of those events yourself. So.
And of course, one of the main things we're known for, besides blood, is every time you see a fire on the news, you may hear at the end of that news segment, and the Red Cross is assisting the family. I'm one of those volunteers. I'm not the guy who goes out at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm the person who follows up the next day with the family to say, okay, now what? How can we help you? Both the Red Cross and other agencies who provide services in the county to help families get back on their feet.
Yeah, I'm sure the home fires are a devastating circumstance. You obviously can't move right back in. Your clothes are probably at bare minimum trashed and not something you can easily wear immediately.
Yes.
I expect a lot of paperwork for insurance as well.
It's, if people have insurance, many of the people that, the families that we serve are renters and don't have insurance, or homeowners who don't have enough money to have insurance. And they find themselves, besides clothes and food and that sort of thing, everything from their eyeglasses to their car keys may be lost in the fire. And we help them to get replacements.
Wonderful. Put a plug in here for smoke detectors as well. Make sure you change those batteries. We just had daylight savings.
Thank you. The Red Cross also provides smoke detectors. And I participated a couple of months ago in an event in Snowshoe where we went door to door and offered to install smoke detectors for people who didn't have any, or there was one case in which I helped a family whose smoke detectors were about 20 years old and were ornaments.
Yes. It's my understanding after about 10 years, they don't work
Yes.
quite as well.
Right.
All right. Well, I'm rather impressed with all the different things that you've done here in Center County just since you said last July.
Yes.
We're not even a full year yet. Commissioner Concepcion, any questions?
Yeah, so I guess CPR and first aid training is something that many of us have interacted with the Red Cross for.
Also provide that,
Right,
yes,
yeah.
of course.
So,
Thank you.
and we know the Red Cross, when in conflict zones or places of like severe natural disasters, the Red Cross are some of the brave people who are right on the front lines
Yes.
providing life-saving aid. So thank you for the work you do.
Thank you.
Commissioner Dershowitz?
I think we've all seen the Red Cross and the Salvation Army both help out when there's either man-made or natural disasters here locally, and you've been very effective, as was noted, bringing people back around into a good place when the circumstances would indicate otherwise. So appreciate all that. Appreciate the fact that you're saving lives through the collection of blood. I mean, I think we just heard it, how important that is, and what element that is to our communities. And we got to take that for granted until we need it. And when you need it, you really need it. And making sure you have all the different types and everything categorized, and all the challenges that have existed over the last probably 20 years of collecting blood. I think you've been very effective in your mission. So I want to thank you for all that, and pleased that we can honor you this month again. So thank you, Commissioner.
Great. Well, thanks again for coming. If you'll stay up for just a minute, we'll adopt the proclamation and give you a copy.
Okay, so I will move to adopt Proclamation 10 of 2024, proclaiming March 2024 American Red Cross Month in Center County.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to adopt proclamation number 10, proclaiming March as American Red Cross Month in Center County. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Come on up and we'll present the proclamation.
Thank you very much for coming in. Pleasure. Thanks for what you do.
Thank you. Move on over this way just a little bit. And there you go. Yeah. Thanks. All right. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, a pleasure. Thank you.
All right, now we will move into our contracts and authorizations. We have a couple of items for court administration, and Kendra's here to discuss them.
Good morning.
Morning.
2 items on the agenda for today. They are both for reimbursement back to the county. The first is for the Court Interpreter Services Grant. This is used when we have to get interpreter talk or we have to have in-person people to facilitate court proceedings. The second is a reimbursement for our senior judge use. It actually is higher than it has been in previous years, and that was because we had Senior Judge Ruest assisting us before the appointment of Judge Rader. So you'll see a higher amount this year. We also reconfigured how we were staffing and helping the senior judges. If you were a state employee, you weren't able to submit for reimbursement. We kind of moved some staffing around, and we have county people assisting so that we can get reimbursement back for the county for their services. So I would just ask that you approve both of those. The president judge has signed off on them. They would just require a signature to get them submitted to the AOPC.
Great, well, thanks for presenting that, Kendra, and we'd like to thank our local Court of Common Pleas judges. I believe for county of our class and size, we're, I believe, tied for the lowest number of Court of Common Pleas judges.
Yes. Yeah.
So we very much appreciate all their hard work. Commissioner Concepcion, any questions?
Yeah, no, thanks.
Thank you.
It's all good.
All good, all right.
I will move to approve the court administration items 1 and 2.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the 2 items for court administration. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, pose nay, motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kendra. All right, now we have Glenn from the Center County Correctional Facility with a letter of agreement with the Pennsylvania State Police.
Good morning, everybody. Requesting your consideration for approval, our yearly agreement with the state police to investigate any allegations of sexual assault or sexual abuse within the correctional facility. This is a requirement within the PREA regulations that we have a authorized law enforcement agency conduct those investigations. So this is just a continuing yearly thing that the state police have us renew every year.
Great, well, thanks for coming to present that, Glenn, and thanks again to you and your staff and all the related county agencies that allow us to pass our state inspections with flying colors normally.
Yes, 100% again this year.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Concepcion, any questions?
No, thanks for bringing this forward.
Commissioner Dershowitz?
It's all good. Thank you.
All right, we'll take a motion then.
I'll move to add the letter of agreement with the Pennsylvania State Police to next week's consent agenda.
I will second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve the letter of agreement with the Pennsylvania State Police. All those in favor of moving that to next week's consent agenda, do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay, motion carries.
All right, thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thank you.
All right, now we have an item from Facilities Management, which I believe John will be covering.
Good morning, Commissioners. Before you for consideration is a contract with About Time Restorations to provide the annual maintenance of the Center County Courthouse Tower Clock and Bells. This is for general normal maintenance, and if additional parts or repairs are needed, those would be billed at an hourly rate. This does include one site visit per year for 3 years for a total of $1,650. The time period would have started on February 16th of '24 and run through December 31st of 2026.
Great, well, thanks for handling this, John. And as the oldest operating courthouse in the state, we do have some very historic items there, including the tower clock and bells. Commissioner Concepcion, any questions?
No, I assume this is probably a pretty specialized skill set that they bring to this work.
It is. Actually, the person who we've worked with these folks for a while, is stepping down away from the business, and there are new folks coming in, assuming the company and the responsibility, so. we
John,
want-
just one question. We also have a clock at the courthouse annex. Does that have a maintenance agreement as well, or?
I don't know if that would cover it or not. I
Yeah.
can find out.
Yeah, I think we should
Yeah.
probably make sure that that is maintained as well.
For the annex. Okay, will do.
All right, and thankfully, we're putting this on the consent agenda, so.
Yeah.
Gives John a week to nail that down.
All right, then I'll move to
Alright.
add the contract with About Time Restorations LLC to next week's consent agenda.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to add the contract with About Time Restorations LLC to next week's consent agenda. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Any questions from the press on any of those items? No? All right. Move forward to Human Services. Leah from Children and Youth has an interagency operational agreement.
Good morning. This morning, I have for you, for your consideration and approval, the Center County Interagency Operational Agreement for Child Abuse Investigations. This agreement is between our agency as well as Center County Mental Health and the Child Advocacy Center of Center County. And our signatures and agreement show that we acknowledge the Center County Child Abuse Protocol and agree to the standards for conducting and handling child abuse investigations that meet the criteria to be referred to the Children's Advocacy Center of Center County. It also indicates that we will have staff available, attend our interagency meetings, provide services and testimony and hearings, and be consistent with the guidelines and the law regarding child abuse investigations. There are no costs associated with this agreement. It is something that is required as part of their reaccreditation, which is happening next week at their center, and just shows that we will provide a united front in terms of child abuse investigations.
Great. Well, thanks for presenting that, and the commissioners are very appreciative of our partnership with the Children's Advocacy Center of Center County, one of roughly 100 different nonprofits the Center County government contracts with and helps fund. I'll turn it over to Commissioner Concepcion with any additional questions.
Sure, so this is a new agreement, but does it simply codify what has been longstanding norms?
Yes, we've had this agreement signed
okay.
for many years.
Oh, I see.
It's just required to be renewed at different intervals, and we just actually renewed it in October. However, the center is due for reaccreditation this month, so we
Okay.
needed to sign it again, even though we just signed it in October of
Okay.
23.
Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would presume that the Child Advocacy Center is still associated with Mountain Indy Medical?
Correct.
Yes.
Yes,
And they,
yes.
yeah, they've been a great partner, and when they started this program a number of years back, it really was a game changer in the investigation of child abuse allegations, and really has been fantastic for the families and the children that are impacted.
Absolutely. It's been very helpful to be able to have our children interviewed in one place with both our agency, law enforcement, the trained interviewers at the CAC, and then have supportive services readily available. Helps present and provide a united front, and also prevent children from having to retell their stories multiple times and allow them to be directly connected to support services while they are there as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a
Absolutely.
fabulous idea, and I'm very happy that, Commissioners are very happy that we're able to continue
Absolutely.
this very productive partnership.
Thank you.
Great. Any questions from the press? No? All right. We'll take a motion then.
I will move to approve the Center County Interagency Operational Agreement for Child Abuse Investigations.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the Center County Interagency Operational Agreement for Child Abuse Investigations do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Leah.
Thank you.
We have a slightly bigger than average consent agenda, but I think everything was pretty standard.
Okay, I will move to approve this week's consent agenda.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve this week's consent agenda. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right. We'll move on to a letter of support for SendClear, and Julia will cover that in some detail, and thanks for hopping on this so quickly, Julia.
Sure. So I'm asking you to consider approval of a letter of support to SendClear to apply for the Revitalizing Wellness Center County Mental Health Outpatient Renovation Project. SendClear is submitting a grant application for federal funding to support some renovations to the Bellefonte office. Currently, they provide mental health, psychiatric, and outpatient treatment services to Center County adults and adolescents. With this funding, they're hoping to add an additional 6 therapy offices, help the parking lot to be more ADA compliant. And so that's the gist of their request for the support letter.
Well, that sounds great. We could definitely use more mental health services here in Center County. In fact, virtually all of rural Pennsylvania could definitely utilize more mental health care suppliers and facilities. Commissioner Concepcion, any comments?
Sounds like a good project.
Commissioner Dershowitz?
I guess my only question is, like, who are these services directed toward? Are they a specific socioeconomic group, or is it open to the public?
It's open to the public.
Okay.
Yeah, they serve
Right.
adults and adolescents.
Okay.
That's pretty much the.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, had a tour of their facility last fall. I mean, it's just down the hill from here. And, they, I believe they replaced a supplier that closed a facility in Bellefonte. So it has definitely helped services here.
Yes. Yeah. I believe there was a doctor's office there prior.
At one time,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Yes.
That was my pediatrician.
Oh, okay.
So a really long.
That is a why. All right.
I probably wasn't the only one way back when.
Any questions from the press on the letter of support? No? All right, we'll take a motion then.
I'll move to approve the letter of support for Senclear.
I will second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve the letter of support for Senclear. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. Great. Thanks, Julia. All right. we'll
And I
move-
would be remiss if I didn't say that it was Dr. Appelhausen's office for a long time after that.
Okay, all right, all right. So now we'll move over to our check run. Commissioner Concepcion, cover that.
Sure. So the check that I'd like to call attention to on our check run this week is to the Snowshoe Senior Center. Some support for that is one of our county's several different senior centers that the county is responsible for or has a partnership with in Center County. And with that, I will move to approve the check run dated March 8th, 2024.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the check run dated March 8th. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. John, do we have an administrator's report this morning?
Nothing to report at this time.
All right. Move on to our voter registration report and announcements. Commissioner Concepcion.
Okay, so as of today, the total voters on our voter report are 100,763. Of those, 42,184 are registered Democratic, 138 Green Party, 598 Libertarian Party, 13,853 have no affiliation, and 40,949 are registered Republican. And then with all the others comprising 3,041, that adds up to our total of 100,763, which is up 25 from our last report. The party of the week is the Bull Moose Party. They have one registered voter here in Center County. And our precinct of the week is Ferguson North 2. It's precinct 48. They vote at the Disciple Makers office at 365 Science Park Road. Their total number of registered voters is 1,349. In the last election, there were 485 ballots cast for a voter turnout of only 36%, which was a bit below our countywide average. But we'd like to thank Disciple Makers for the use of their facility there. So that's the voter registration report.
Great. No announcements for the elections at this point then?
Not at this time.
Okay, all right. John, any executive sessions to report or to hold?
No executive sessions to report or hold.
All right, the remainder of our public meeting schedule, we have a work session at 11. And then on Thursday, we have our Board of Commissioners and Salary Board meetings combined at 10 a.m., Board of Elections meeting at 1 p.m., and then the following week, Tuesday, the Board of Commissioners meeting at 10 a.m. And now for Gary's favorite part of the Commissioners meeting, questions from the press.
John, can you give us, because every time I walk in, people that work at the courthouse ask, any kind of update on the retaining wall project? On schedule or?
Yes, it's on schedule. They are actually performing shotcrete right now, which is the stabilization of the exposed soil. The soil nails are all in on the uphill side, and the forms for the second outer aesthetic layer are going to be delivered shortly, and we are putting on a stone facade, so it'll be concrete, but there will be a form liner that's placed that'll make it appear to be stone, and it will be, then the stone will then be dyed to make it look more like, real stone. So that's all on track, and we're hoping to have that work done by May, and then we'll move to the other side. Yes.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. Any other questions from the rest of the press in attendance? Yes.
Yesterday, Penn Highlands Community College announced that they officially signed a lease and that they're going to be putting a new facility right here in Bellefonte, and it's going to be their first center in Center County. So I just want to know the board's thoughts on another college kind of making its way into Center County.
Sure. Well, great question. The commissioners have had a few discussions with Penn Highlands, and we do welcome another post-secondary organization here into the county. I'm assuming perhaps they're opening a branch here because we are the Bellefonte and State College are pretty much the only growing communities in the entire western half of the state at this point. And we appreciate their investment in Bellefonte and obviously their high opinion of the county and specifically right here in the Bellefonte area. Commissioner Concepcion or Dershowitz, anything you wanted to add? No? Great. So great question. Thanks. Anything else? All right. Unless there's anything else for the order, I think we take a motion to adjourn.
I will move to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn at 10:37. All those in favor do so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Great. We'll reconvene at 11 for a work session.